The next morning, Mara went to the docks and asked the smallest question she knew how to ask. Would anyone sing with her? The request should have been naive. Lurans were practical people. They patched hulls, unclogged desal plants, argued about land allotments. But there were also those for whom sound was job and worship. The net weavers who coded rain songs into irrigation, the fishermen whose low choruses once called the shoals, the children who hummed at the edges of markets. One by one, curiosity unwrapped them. A boy brought the last recorded harvest chant from his village. A retired hydro farmer hummed a work groove that had once synced an entire irrigation lattice. An old woman with a voice like sand contributed a lullaby that had soothed 3 generations. Mara accepted each offering with that careful, almost clerical gratitude that collectors keep for fragile things. She labeled each jar more carefully now, not by merchant code, but by the giver's face and the evening they had sung, a small ledger of human intention. But there were obstacles. The land itself took quickly to new songs, but then forgot them as if they had never been. A pattern emerged. Short-lived restorations, faint panics like a cough of reawakened rain. Then the planet's memory would dip beyond recall once more. The keepers said the biosphere needed sustained attention, an ongoing chorus that could not be purchased in jars or beamed in as a single patch. It needed a culture of listening. Mara moved outward, asking in city halls and taverns and among traders' guilds until the news spread along the coast and into the hinterlands. A trader with a freight of preserved coral sent a partnership. He would steer baskets of local seeds if she could bring the songs that made them sprout. A schooner captain offered shipping if she could find sea-work songs. A set of nomad elders promised a rhythm that once synchronized migrating fungal blooms. People came with fragments, half-remembered tunes, and in return they asked what currency Mara gave. She offered a different answer each time, a lesson, a repair, a night of listening, until trust shaped itself into reciprocity. On the 3rd week, she received a transmission from a small museum on a moon 2 systems away. They had an artifact, an acoustic index recorded in crystalline wax, a pattern that had once been used to call the planet's oldest coral forest to life. The curator enclosed a note. They would part with the index, but only if Mara promised to teach what it contained. She accepted. The index was beautiful and unforgiving. It required cohesion, a voice ground that could hold intervals the planet remembered from before the silence. It couldn't simply be played and expected to work. The archive's recorders could reproduce it, but the field around the city would swallow it like a storm swallowing a candle. Mara found an unlikely ally in Cello, a retired chorus master who had once led ships of state in lullabies. He arrived with hands that had forgotten calluses and eyes that still held tide. "You cannot sing for a planet as you sing for an audience," he told her on their first morning. "You must sing with the land. You must match the small shifts, the way sand remembers a tide. Sing with what it still has." They worked slowly. They rehearsed at dawn in shell-home caverns where the air was thicker and receptive. They read the index like a living thing, letting the notation alter under their fingers. Colors of sound seeped into their bones, low, patient bass that made fungal luminescence pulse, a braided medline that coaxed roots to extend, a high, bright counterline that invited small flying creatures to trust the singing. They grafted the human stanzas together with the ancient pattern, gluing old with new. As they trained, word of Mara's experiment spread beyond Lura. Travelers on trade routes tasted rumors of a woman making a chorus to call back a planet. Often the rumor carried a different detail. Someone claimed the songs could sing in the voices of the dead. Another said that the chorus could command tides. The truth was blander and kinder. It was patience and practice. It was sitting with people and teaching them to breathe together. Not everyone celebrated. A mining consortium, which had profited when the planet's sound was thin and extraction easy, sent an emissary with a ledger and a polite frown. Corporate boards notice when a system's productivity drops. No sense in hiding that, the emissary said. We offer funds, but with strings. Control over which songs can be played and to whom. Mara understood the offer for what it was, an attempt to privatize the chorus. She refused. It would be easy to accept and expedite the rehearsals, to hire voices and recorders, but the index required a living participation. It would be clipped and dead under contractual clauses. The chorus needed voluntary breath, not purchased compliance. A different problem emerged as their rehearsals lengthened: fatigue. The people could not sustain the vocal intensity required for the index. Their throats dried. Children grew restless. The chorus's first public demonstration filled a city plaza with sound, and for an hour the wind shifted and a minor bloom returned to a nearby creek. People wept. The bloom faded the next day. Hope and disappointment began to alternate like weather. Mara realized the plan had to become larger than one esplanade. It would need a circuit of singing, teams who could rotate, healers who could soothe weariness, and technologies that could amplify without supplanting. She traveled further to find such partners, carrying her jars and the weight of small people's dreams. Every voice that joined rewired the chorus, bending the index into new shapes adapted to the planet's present exhaustion. One night at the edge of an abandoned orchard, under a ceiling of patient stars, Mara opened the last jar in her bag. Inside was a child's recording she had kept from her childhood, a small fragment of a lullaby that she had once found on the deck of a ghost ship. She played it softly. The sound was thin, imperfect, but it braided with the chorus they had been building, and for a moment the ground under their feet hummed back. It was not a cure, but it proved a truth she had told herself since she first began trading. Memory cannot be rehung like a picture. It must be made again, together.